The following notes are on the circulatory system, which is in Chapter 33, Section 1 of your textbook. The function of the circulatory system is many. First of all, the major aspect is transportation. We are going to be moving molecules around the body using the circulatory system. So if you want to think of it as the highway of the body, that would be pretty accurate. Now, things that the circulatory system moves around, oxygen, and of course, the same aspect with gases, carbon dioxide. So it's going to be moving those gases to and from the lungs, from the cells. Nutrients from the digestive system. So again, think about the monomers from your food, like amino acids and glucose, and waste products that your cells produce. So your circulatory system is going to pick up waste products from the cells and then drop them off to other locations of the body where they can be eliminated. A good example is urea, which is made by the cells. It's a nitrogenous waste, and your circulatory system is going to pick that up and drop it off at the kidneys so that it can be filtered out of the blood. In addition, the circulatory system provides immunity, namely in the antibodies that you make against different pathogens that you encounter, as well as white blood cells that help to eliminate those pathogens when they enter the body. Now, the components of the circulatory system are the heart, the blood, and the vessels that the blood travels through. So starting with the heart is actually two pumps, not just one. And you can kind of see a diagram of the heart over here, and you can see that the heart actually has two pumps, one on the right side and one on the left side. Now, if you're wondering, why did she just mix up her sides? You say the sides of the heart that belong to the owner of that heart. So this is the owner of the heart's right side, and this is the owner of the heart's left side. And you can almost look at a heart and kind of see that it kind of looks like a heart. So it's okay to draw it like that, because if you did, it does a really nice job of showing you the chambers of the heart. And we'll come back to that later. So the right side of the heart pumps blood to the lungs, and that is called your pulmonary circulation. The left side of the heart pumps blood to the body, and that's called systemic circulation. So let's highlight right and left, and the right side pumps to the lungs, the left side of the heart pumps to the body. And again, we're going to come back to the details of that circulation in a bit. There's going to be a separate set of notes that actually shows the pathway of blood through the heart, but I will overview it in these notes as well. The second component of the circulatory system is blood, and red blood cells are also called erythrocytes. They are the carriers, so they are the cells that are actually picking up and dropping off molecules around the body. White blood cells are called leukocytes, and they're involved in your immune response. So again, getting rid of pathogens. You also have platelets that help with clotting, so that if you cut yourself, it's platelets that help to stop the bleeding in the blood vessel. And you have the watery suspension that all of these components are in, which is called plasma. So it is the fluid that the blood cells and the antibodies are suspended in. And it includes water, proteins, salts, urea, gases, and other components. If you put blood in a centrifuge and spin it around, the red blood cells settle to the bottom because they're the heaviest. The white blood cells and platelets, which make about 1% of your blood, make a thin layer in the middle, and then the plasma would go to the top. And the plasma and the red blood cells make up the bulk of your blood, about 90%. Or sorry, 99%. Okay, and then your vessels. There are 3 major groups of vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Starting with arteries, they are very large vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Okay, so this is important. I want you to highlight away and think artery is away. As long as the blood is leaving the heart and traveling away from the heart, it's in an artery. And that is end of story. That is a rule. Arteries are away. So they carry blood away from the heart to the tissues of the body. Except for the pulmonary artery, they carry oxygen-rich blood. And oxygen-rich blood is bright red in color. Typically, artery blood is under high pressure, and smaller arteries are called arterioles. So arterioles branch from arteries, but again, they are bringing blood to the tissues of the body. Bright red blood you can see here, and that is oxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood is much darker in color. There is a misconception many students have that oxygenated blood is red and deoxygenated blood is blue. And that's because in cartoons, in order to make it easy to understand the difference, it's common to make oxygenated blood red and color deoxygenated blood blue in diagrams. However, that is not the real color of blood. Blood is either bright red or dark red. It is not blue. Veins, on the other hand, are blood vessels that return oxygen-deprived blood to the heart. The blood is dark red in color, as mentioned before, and it is typically under low pressure. And because the blood is not moving very fast, it's under low pressure, it has valves. Veins have valves to keep the blood from flowing backwards. So veins are going to the heart, and veins have valves. You can kind of see that valve here. Arteries do not have valves. So the heart would be up here. Arteries would take blood away, and veins would take blood to the heart. The vessels that connect arteries and veins, oh, sorry, I missed one thing. Venules. Venules are very small veins. So small venules actually branch to larger veins and connect capillaries to a larger vein. So you would have an artery, and then you would have arterioles, and then you'd have capillaries, and then venules, and then a vein. And then going back to capillaries, capillaries are the smallest blood vessels of the body. They are often 1 cell thick, And these vessels touch all of the tissues to the body so that they can drop off nutrients and oxygen and pick up wastes and carbon dioxide. Now on the next page, we are going to go over blood flow, but there will be another set of notes that goes into the specifics about the chambers of the heart and how blood travels through the heart. So we're going to give an overview here, and again, you're going to need to see that separate set of notes for the heart specifically. So all blood will enter the right side of the heart from the body through two very large veins, the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. And I'm going to change my highlighter to a blue color. They are down here, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. And I'm going to use a blue colored pen. Blood will be coming from the body. The superior vena cava will bring blood from the head and the arms, and the inferior vena cava will bring blood from the torso and the legs. The superior vena cava will collect blood from the upper half of the body, as stated below, and the inferior vena cava collects blood from the lower half of the body. That blood will then enter the right atrium, atrium. The right atrium is here. So it's this area. Let me change that again back to blue, right there. The blood will then leave the right atrium and travel through a valve called the tricuspid valve, tricuspid. That valve will keep blood from being able to go back into the right atrium. So it's kind of like a check valve, so that blood, when it enters the next chamber, it will not be able to go back into the right atrium. And that next chamber is called the right ventricle. The right ventricle is here. And here is that valve I was telling you about, the tricuspid valve. So the blood would go from the right atrium through the tricuspid valve and then be in the right ventricle. When the right ventricle contracts, the blood is going to be pumped through the pulmonary valve and into the pulmonary artery, remember artery away, and into the lungs where it will pick up oxygen. So the blood will go through the pulmonary valve and then head either direction to the left lung or to the right lung. Now, why is the blood going to the lungs? Because it needs to drop off carbon dioxide and pick up oxygen gas. So this blood is going to be dark red in color. So the right side of the heart has deeper red blood. And as soon as it goes to the lungs, it's going to become bright red. The blood is going to return back to the heart because it needs to get another push from the heart in order to have enough momentum to get to the body. So the blood is going to return from the lungs by way of the pulmonary veins. Remember, veins go back to the heart. And they will enter the chamber of the heart called the left atrium. I'm going to change to red. So here are the pulmonary veins from the left lung, and over here from the right lung. And we're going to enter the left atrium. The blood's going to go down through a valve, which is called the mitral or bicuspid valve. Either name is okay. And the blood will then enter the left ventricle. Which is here. The blood will then take an upward turn and go past another valve. Remember, valves keep blood from being able to go backward. That valve is called the aortic valve. And then the blood will enter the largest artery of the body, which is called the aorta. The aorta is going to bring blood to the essentially the main pathway to allow blood to then go up to the arms and the head or back down toward the torso and the legs. It's the main artery of the blood, and it does branch. So you'll have sections that will branch and go toward the head. And torso. Now the heart has its own circulatory system in a way. The heart is muscle. It needs oxygen itself. It needs nutrients. It also needs to get rid of wastes. But it cannot take oxygen from its own chambers. And so the heart gets its own oxygen supply through a system of coronary arteries. Coronary arteries that essentially branch over the heart to bring oxygenated blood to the tissues of the heart so that it has essentially the oxygen it needs to contract and relax for your entire life. The left coronary artery and the right coronary artery arise from the aorta. And you can see them here. And here's the aorta. The heart also has veins, which are not shown in this picture below, that collect oxygen-poor blood from the heart tissue itself. And most of those veins will drain into the right atrium. A heart attack, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, happens when a coronary artery has a blockage and you are getting blood that is not feeding the heart tissue itself. Heart attacks can cause chest pain and possibly even death to the heart muscle tissue. And they typically occur when the coronary arteries narrow because they're getting clogged, often from cholesterol, either genetically or from the diet of the person. So it's important to keep those coronary arteries nice and open, and diet and exercise can help to do that. So down below is just the overall big picture of circulation. I'm going to switch colors here. Remember that this side over here is the right side of the heart. Pulmonary circulation. Over here is the left side of the heart, which is systemic circulation. Remember that the right side of the heart is going to pump blood to the lungs, and the left side of the heart is going to pump blood to the body. You can get a really nice overview of all of the chambers and vessels to and from the heart in the picture to the right. But again, we will be going over this in a separate set of notes. So stay tuned for that.